Hey everyone, welcome back to the Winner's Circle. I'm Derrick.
And I'm Cody.
And we are here recapping another week of Big Brother Canada. But before we get into it, Cody, let them know.
You already know, guys. We want you to subscribe to the channel. Again, I don't know if people don't understand this. Subscribing to the channel costs you nothing. If you have an email link to YouTube, it costs you $0 to subscribe and turn on those bell notifications. Right next to the subscribe button, there's a bell. Turn on all so that you don't miss a video, a live, anything that is involved with this YouTube channel. You will not miss. And if you are listening on audio, please give us a 5-star review if you feel we deserve it, and leave a comment, because all of this stuff helps boost our videos, boost our episodes, and we really do appreciate it. We're up and over 20.3 thousand subscribers, and we love each and every one of you and really do appreciate it from the bottom of our hearts.
Absolutely. Truly appreciate it. So let's dive right into it. Gino wins HOH, as you all know, and you're expecting a lot from Gino because Gino definitely has the attributes to win this game, but as it has been for multiple weeks, he's really kind of on an island other than Jacey-Lynne.
Yeah.
You know, he has people that he's working with or communicating with, but yet there's really no ride or die. There's a lot of smaller alliances around him, and he's just kind of survived to this point. One of the closest people he had was Marty, and Marty's burned him twice already. Yeah. And, well, you know, more than likely will burn him again. But I was interested to see what Gino was going to do, because it was an opportunity to chink away at the armor, so to speak, and maybe get out a target that could come after him, maybe a big competitor that could beat him in a competition. What was your general overview of this week with Gino and some of the things that unfolded as we're going to dive into them?
The tough part about Gino winning the HOH is there was no real way of him knowing how many people actually were coming after him. Like, you know, Summer, even though she's like flirting with Gino, she's super close with Gino. Summer wants to break up the showmance. Helena wants to break up the showmance. Kevin wants to break up the showmance. And so for Gino to win that HOH, it was, I never felt like he was going to target the right person or really fracture the group. And I don't think anybody really will do that, quite frankly, because the person that needs to be targeted to fracture like the thought process of a lot of people is Kevin. Kevin is really the one that is really maneuvering through the entire house and determining what Helena's talking points are, Marty's talking points are. Like, Josh has a, you know, good enough relationship with him, and so does Gino. And so Kevin is really the one that needs to be targeted if anybody really wants to fracture a part of the house. But I just didn't feel like Gino would have done that this week. And I also felt like Gino was probably going to go after Marty. And it's a good move on his part, because Marty just can't be trusted if I was Gino. But it's like, is that the best person to get out to further Gino's game? I don't know. I don't know if that would have been the right move, because Gino was saying it all last week. All right, Marty, you burned me twice. It's done. I'll win HOH, and I'm coming after you next week. And so we saw how that was going to play out. And so now we kind of saw how it went.
Yeah, it didn't go exactly to plan. Just real quick, because we always talk about strategy. We always talk about behaviors and things that are said and how you react to certain situations, you know, how they can affect your game. You know, they could be subtle things to you while you're in the house, but they could have a big impact on the other house guests, which could ultimately land you on the block. And I wanted to get your take on the HOH competition before we get into the week, because we start off the first episode, knowing that they all have knots again. The fridge got this lock on it again. Isn't that crazy how Big Brother Can just does that randomly to you for no reason? Right? Kind of sucks. Yeah. And it doesn't seem like a big deal to the people watching. That's a huge blow, especially if you haven't got a good meal in first, where you're like, and their slop, from what I understand, is way different than our slop, by the way. Really? But yeah, I heard it's worse. So this plays into the HOH this week, and there was an option where basically there were 5 have passes around the house. And if you took a have pass, you basically had a point against you to start. Now, Summer talked a big game that she was going to start stepping it up, and she was going to, you know, she's been throwing comps all season. Spoiler alert, I think she might have thrown one or two. I don't think she's been throwing them all season.
So I'll say this about Summer and the throwing comps. Like, remember Summer, like, it was the veto. She was, oh, I'm winning this comp, I'm going in. And then she like ultimately realized, okay, I can't beat Gino, so now I'm going to throw it. It's like, that's not throwing a comp, Summer. That's just like bowing out, essentially. Like, you don't, you know you're not going to win, and so you just
I did it with Sloppy the Snowman. I don't consider that throwing the comp. I wasn't going to win. If you remember, you were nice enough to point it out to me. I was getting smoked. And so I was like, well, I have no chance at winning. Let me see if it's okay with the group. But With this particular situation, it's interesting because everyone's kind of getting an idea of where your head's at and how important it is to you to not only be safe that week, but also like in the game. And the reason why I brought it up is, Summer's someone who hasn't won a comp yet all season, and yet she goes for the have pass. And they had a little segment with Gino where he's basically like, that's par for the course. She doesn't care. She's,
Right.
She's going to do it for her. And the reason that's important is because I can see a world where someone like Summer, who in my opinion is a floater at this point, great DR, but a floater, could get to the end. And she's going to get it there in the final two and try to convince the jury members as to why she should win. And these are the types of things that I want you guys to remember when you play, because trust me, when it's only a small margin between the two people that are up there, things like this could have a lasting impact where they vote against you because they realize that during the game, when you had opportunities to win competitions or save yourself, you chose food over that. And by the way, I'm not targeting Summer. She wasn't the only one. It was Summer. Marty went for it. Marty was a no-brainer, obviously.
Yeah.
They all went in the house, but some weren't really going for it.
Yeah.
Jacey-Lynne took it as well, I believe. And then you had, so those three, because there were still two passes left that nobody took. And that's important because Josh was hungry. Kevin was hungry. Moose was hungry. They went in there and chose not to take the passes because winning was more important. Now, they didn't all win. None of those three won. Gino didn't take it either. But that was because they want to win.
Right.
And even though they didn't win the comp, trust me, as a former player, I think I speak for you, Cody. That goes a long way.
Yes, it does.
I mean, what's your take on that? Am I going too hard on them?
No, I agree with you 100%. And we've had different scenarios where people have chosen to either get the money or get the reward when everybody, and especially the people that you're working with. And it's why I think you'll see a lot of people, it's like Jacey-Lynne is on an island. Summer really, she has her relationships, but she doesn't have any core, like really great relationships. I feel like Tanisha was the closest one with Summer, and now Tanisha's been gone for weeks. And so you saw the people that really don't have anybody that they're playing for go for it. And I mean, props to Gino, because Gino could have just went and did it. But I agree with you 100%. I do not think you're going too hard, but I think it also shows the people that really don't feel like, okay, I need to not only worry about myself, but I don't want to give a bad look out to the group that I'm working with. And those were the people that just were quick to rush in and go, oh yeah, done. Or you saw someone like Moose, who was probably feeling that way, one, and also feeling very like threatened. Like, I think I could go home this week. So he didn't want that either. It showed where people's heads were in the game, or maybe where their positionings were, to me. I don't like when people do that either.
No, it's a bad look. As a player, yeah, no, if you're going there and you're starving, that's not a good look. But before we actually get into the meat and potatoes of the episode, let's take a quick break. Guys, this podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp. People don't always realize that physical symptoms like headaches, teeth grinding, and even digestive issues can be indicators of stress. And let's not forget about doom scrolling, sleeping too little, sleeping too much, undereating or overeating. For me, it's one of those things where if I'm thinking about something all day, I'll try to block it out to get done what I need to get done. However, when it's time for bed, I'll lay up there and look at the ceiling for an hour, and I don't know why, because I've been up all day. Well, it's because I'm stressed. And it's because even though you may be telling yourself you're not, the physiological aspects of stress are still there. Stress shows up in all kinds of ways. In a world that's telling you to do more, sleep less, and grind all the time, here's a reminder to take care of yourself, do less, and maybe try some therapy. For me, I know that I've been through some issues in my life where they were really traumatic, and I thought I could get through them on my own. I was sadly mistaken. I couldn't, and I had to go speak to a therapist, and it was the best thing I ever did, which is why I still seek out therapy when I'm going through a difficult situation and feel like I need that extra ear, that extra person who can be impartial and kind of put things in perspective for me so I can continue with my day with a healthy mind and a healthy body.
BetterHelp is customized online therapy that offers video, phone, and even live chat sessions with your therapist, so you don't have to see anyone on camera if you don't want to. I think the biggest thing in today's day and age is just realizing that we all live with stress, but not allowing that stress to just overcome and take over every thought that you have. For me, it was always nighttime. At night, it was always very difficult for me to go to bed because I was always running through the whole day. Did I get everything done? And I talked to somebody and became a little more structured, because as an entrepreneur, it's very easy to lose that structure. And without that structure is where the stress really overcame everything that I was doing. And so BetterHelp is much more affordable than in-person therapy. So we would love for you to give it a try and see if online therapy can help lower your stress. The Winner Circle podcast listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/winnercircle. Again, that's BetterHelp.com/winner circle, and you will get 10% off your
All
first
right, so
month.
we're back. We're here. We're talking about it. Gino wins HOH. You guys all know that. And the plan right off the bat is he's going to backdoor Marty. He knows that. And he's talking to different people. He's thinking about how he wants to do it. And initially, his thought process is, I'm going to put up Moose and Summer, because, Summer hasn't been on the block yet. Moose is a big competitor. He's kind of like a wild card. He's out on a limb by himself, and his boy Herman went home last week. So he's really kind of a free agent. So if he goes as collateral damage, not a big deal. But then we get right into a conversation with Moose and Gino. And again, if I said it once, I've said it a million times, man, Moose, the dude can talk. He might be one of the better campaigners I've ever seen on US and Canada. And to think that he's a not even a super fan just goes to show you his natural ability. What's your take on Moose as far as his campaigning skills? I think we really have to talk about that because they're incredible.
Yeah, I think the saddest part about it is that his, like, how eloquent he speaks and how well spoken he is and methodical he is with what he's saying was a downfall for him. And it was
good point.
But it was because he kept being on the block. So people didn't trust him. He wasn't working with the group, so it ended him on the block. And every time he was on the block and getting himself out of it, it was, wow, did you see how Moose was able to get himself out of it? And then they all started talking, and then ultimately it got to this final point of this guy's on the block, just smooth talking his way through everything. Yeah, I mean, he just knew how to talk to the HOHs before nominations. He just got it. And the problem is when everybody knows you have it like that, it's not a good thing.
No, it's not. You're right. It's a great point. Like, it really was a double-edged sword for him.
Yeah.
Like, it helped him get this far, but it was also the thing holding him back. It's
Right.
interesting. And Gino doesn't stop with Moose. He tells Moose, listen, I'm thinking about putting you up. Moose does his thing to try to convince him otherwise. But then Gino fills in other people like Josh. He tells Josh about this plan as well. Like, hey, Josh, Summer, my plan is to backdoor Marty. But I might need some people to go up. Please don't tell anyone. Well, what does Josh do?
Yeah, obviously.
Josh runs right downstairs to our man, Kevin, who is the puppet master of the season and has people feeding him information on all sides. And Kevin is just sitting down there and he's like, what do you got, Josh? Josh Kerr comes running in the room, fills him in on the whole plan. And Marty takes Kevin takes a great angle on it where he's like, listen, there's a couple things going on here. I'm not going to run upstairs right now and talk to Gino because one of two things is taking place. He really is trying to backdoor Marty. And if that's the case, I don't want him to know that I'm trying to stop it. Or he's just telling Josh what he wants to hear. So I'm going to pretend like, Josh, hey, yeah, you definitely got the good information because maybe Gino has a different plan and he's just not letting Josh in on it. So either way, cool, calm, collected. He's just a sponge. Kevin's just taking all the information in. And Gino doesn't realize that this is a huge, huge blow to his strategy for the week because now Kevin knows what you're up to, buddy.
Yeah. And the reason why I don't love how Gino is just like, he was like way too much of an open book when it comes to, because you want to be open, you want people to feel safe, but you don't want to tell them the plan for a few reasons. One, you don't want it getting back to the person that is ultimately the target. And you don't want people in the house to have all this information about who you actually plan on targeting, just in case that plan falls through. And now everybody can use that information against you if that person or said person either is the HOH the following week or just needs to be convinced to send you home, and they could be somebody that's really in your corner. I didn't love how Gino played this HOH. I didn't hate his plan, but I didn't love how he was going about executing the plan. Ultimately, everyone in the house knew of the plan.
Yeah, except even it seems like Marty really didn't, though. It seems like he was the only one,
which is surprising that people didn't go to him, right?
He had a feeling it could happen, but it didn't seem like, because I feel like he's so emotional, he would have went up to Gino and been like, "Oh, I know you're trying to backdoor me." Like,
I think everybody
he
knows
would,
that about Marty now. Same with like Betty, where they may
that's
not
why
be like,
nobody's
all right, I'm
telling
not
him
going to
anything.
share Betty, you know. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's definitely what happens. So then that brings
Yeah.
us to the nominations, right?
Well, before we get there, because there is some back and forth and talking about strategy, the reason, and I forgot about this, the reason Josh tells Kevin is there's this alliance, the crash test dummies, which
Yeah.
is Helena, Josh, and Kevin. It's important to note because in the beginning of the season, I didn't really have a lot of hope for that. I thought it was kind of like a week to week thing, but nobody really picks up on the alliance between Josh and Kevin, especially. And so that's something that could come into play later, because if they're blinded by it, it's kind of like people were blinded by you and I. It's one of those things that can really come back to bite him, which it did for Gino this week. He's talking to Josh, not realizing how close him and Kevin are, which obviously he knows Kevin's close to Marty. So that was one thing I wanted to bring up. There were two other things. There's a quick conversation between Summer and Gino tries to pull the same thing like he did with Moose, where he's like, hey, I might put you up. What did you think of Summer's way of handling that conversation, as far as Gino suggesting that, you know, he might need someone to go on the block next to Moose so that they can backdoor Marty?
Yeah, I mean, you just knew that Summer really wasn't going to be about it. Like, Summer is obviously a person that said it multiple times when she's gone on. Like, when other stuff has happened, like, you knew Summer was just not going to be about it. Did she blow up and have this huge ordeal? No, so credit to her for that. But, like, Summer, it's tough. Like, I love watching Summer, and I love her DRs, and I love her thought process and how she kind of goes through everything because it's entertaining. But, like, what power did she have in that situation to be like, hey, don't do it or else you're in serious trouble? Like, she's losing numbers, I feel like. And she's like, how she was always somebody that was, wow, Summer's really in with a lot of people. I don't feel like she's that close with too many people anymore. And I don't know. I think, you know, there was really not much strategy in my head that came from Summer in that conversation.
No, I think Gino left that conversation feeling better. Like, you're kind of passively threatening me. So you know what? But this goes back to the layers of Big Brother. And, like, you know, we talked about Moose earlier and his ability to kind of, you know, hear the same thing, but try to mend that relationship through that conversation. Try to make it stronger so that maybe this person comes to the conclusion on their own that, hey, maybe I don't want to put up Moose. He's making some really good points. But
or it's like,
I just wanted to bring that up.
Maybe Gino didn't even have a specific target. And then it's like, well, who am I going to go after? Moose, who was very understanding and honestly may feel the exact same way, just isn't saying it to my face, or Summer, who is like openly saying it. So now maybe like my target shifts.
Maybe exactly. So now we can get into the noms. It's really no surprise. There's a couple good conversations between Moose and Gino. There's also a conversation that I didn't mention between Kevin and Gino as well, where Kevin is now in on it, right? He knows what what the possible plan is. And so he says it without saying it. He doesn't come right out and expose Josh by being like, hey, I heard you're targeting Marty, because he may have only told one or two people. So he would expose Josh. He just kind of says, like, listen, man, you know, I still think for our game, you know, I don't know what you're considering, but I think Marty's loyal to us, you know, so just keep that in mind.
There was that 5-person alliance, right? Between Gino, Jace, Kevin, Marty, and who's the fifth? Helena. Okay.
That's right.
And so Gino is kind of opening up to Kevin a little bit, but Kevin is just kind of taking it in the exact sense that he should be, where numbers are better within my group than picking off numbers in the group and then allowing numbers outside of the group to have more of that power. Kevin's just playing the cleanest game and really taking in a lot of things that we talk about on this show that are benefits to going deep into the game and winning. You want to keep your numbers close. You don't ever want to take shots within until you really have to, or unless it would blow up your game if you didn't. And I don't necessarily know that Gino would have blew up his game if he didn't target Marty this week. And Kevin just kind of hit all the points that made Gino kind of come to the realization. But the veto hasn't happened yet. So I think Gino is still trying to do it. But
it's true, but it's a seed.
Yes, it's planting those layers to, all right, well, now I definitely have him and he's not going to do what, you know, outside of something that I don't want.
Right. No, it is important. That's why we're bringing up the conversation, because as you kind of mentioned, it's going to play a role later. So you plant it, you let it grow, you let it marinate, and maybe it comes to fruition, maybe it doesn't, but that's what Kevin's doing. He's putting seeds all over the house, and he's hoping that it becomes what he wants it to.
Right.
And as we continue out this week, we will see that was the case.
Right.
So we do get to the nominations. As you mentioned, nobody's able to deter Gino from what his plan is at this point. He nominates Moose and Summer. Moose, again, to his credit, right after the noms, has a conversation with Gino. Hey, man, totally understand. Listen, I want to work together. I think you could have maybe done something different, but I get it. We're good. Props, bro. I got this. I'm going to, we're on the same team. I'm going to win that veto, or someone's going to win that veto. We're going to take me off, and Marty's going to go home. Like, no sign of disappointment or resentment toward Gino, which is going to make Gino more comfortable.
Right.
And then the dichotomy of that is you have the situation with Summer, where Summer's doing her makeup. Gino walks in, tries to talk to her. He's like, can I get a hug? She's like, I'm doing my makeup right now, but I'll give you one later. She's like, you went hard on me. It's like very passive, not the end of the world, not a game changer, but something that the HOH will remember. Now, this week it's going to be irrelevant as far as that's concerned, but it's something for you guys to take away from this as you're taking notes, as you're following the season with us, because I know a lot of you have aspirations to go on. We say it all the time. These are the little do's and don'ts that you want to remember.
Yeah.
So do you want to get right into the veto? I think there's not much in between there.
No,
right?
There's not much in between there. And the picking for the veto, I think, was the most important thing. Like, they were almost celebrating. Right. Like, Gino was really excited because Jace gets to compete. Jace has won competitions. Moose is competing. He's won competitions. Summer is like not really great, but still part of the plan. So if Summer wins, it's still a good thing. And then you have Helena, who, to be 100% honest, I thought the same thing as I'm watching. I'm like, oh, they definitely are going to be able to at least get Marty on the block this week.
Right.
Because I was like, somebody's winning that veto's getting used. Because Helena had talked about before the veto, she was aware of the plan. Maybe didn't find out directly from Gino, but she caught wind of it. From
Kevin.
And yeah, definitely. And did not want that to happen. So she's actually gunning for it.
Right. And she was the only one. She's the only one that could have put a monkey wrench in their plan.
Yep.
And Helena wins. Helena wins the veto. We can go right there and say it. But what did you think about that veto competition? You're somebody who's won a few vetoes in your day.
Yeah.
I thought that looked pretty hard to me, to be honest.
Yeah.
The first part wasn't, but
the second part was definitely really difficult. And when nerves come into play and you're trying to balance puzzle pieces on water, where every movement you make sends a ripple in the water, I thought, again, Big Brother Canada's, I don't know what it's called, producer, like game producer, competition producer, it does an incredible job, because these comps just look fun and they look like something that I would love to be a part of.
Now, simple but effective. So Helena wins the veto, and this is where the conversation that we had earlier about Kevin comes into play, because there's a quick segment where Jacey-Lynne and Gino are up in the HOH room. Gino had a quick conversation with Helena where she gave him the impression she wasn't going to use the veto, but they're not really upset about it. Gino's like, hey, you know what? Moose is a pretty good target to go after. Not a big deal. Let's, this is okay. Let's not push Helena too hard. I'm okay with Moose going home. And it does seem like Marty would work with us. He seems like, he's already burnt me twice. I think he's loyal to the 5, and this might be good for our game. This Moose might be the better move. And you got to ask yourself, well, where did this change come from? Because you have been saying for weeks that if you had an opportunity, you were taking out Marty. In my opinion, it comes from the different conversations you've had with Kevin, where he's planted numerous seeds and they started to grow. And now he's convinced you that what's better for his game is better for yours, Gino, and it's not.
No, it is absolutely not. And it's just a kudos to Kevin, because then you have Helena on board with it as well. And now you have Marty, who he knows, okay, I'm ultimately burning. The thing that I don't love about Gino, I said this earlier, is that too many people knew of your plan. People inside of your alliance that you're supposed to be working with, that includes Marty, where they now have to keep it a secret from him. It's like, he just told too many people, I like the plan, but I wish he didn't involve so many people, because it also, when you involve people that you don't fully trust, it allows outside perspective to come in that may just be convincing. And Kevin is a very convincing player. He knows how to say the right things to kind of like, merge away from the target that doesn't really benefit himself. And so I didn't love that Gino did that. And then it allowed him to be susceptible to being convinced otherwise. And then we saw a huge power come into play. that ultimately didn't get used because of Gino's indecisiveness. Right?
That's just it. I mean, that's why it's so cool, because Kevin didn't realize how much the fruits of his labor paid off this week, because
Yes.
Gino had a second opportunity to backdoor Marty, but because Kevin had convinced him this was okay, he relayed that sentiment to Jacey-Lynne and basically said, like, I think we're fine the way it is. And then we get into the secret veto that you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
This is something that I had said to you before the season even started, that I loved about Big Brother Canada. They do it better than us, than US in every way, shape, or form. We don't do anything like this, really, not to this level.
Mm-hmm.
So
sneaking around the house?
Why don't you walk us through it? Because instead of me the exposition, like, walk us through this competition. Like, what were your thoughts on it? How cool was it? Like, it's pretty badass.
Yeah.
I mean, the way it happens. What did you think of the whole mission?
I thought it was absolutely incredible. They put something in the house that makes everybody know, okay, something is up with this. This is something, we know something's at play here. So now everybody's like staring at these flowers. I love that they've added so many different layers to it, though, because it's not just finding like maybe like a hide and go veto, like, oh, I found this in the house. Oh, I have this number. I'm going to go call and I'm going to find out about the power. It's, you have to find the number that you need to call in these flowers, which Jacey-Lynne found. Then you have to go to the telephone, which that's not a room that everybody just goes to.
And people are watching.
People are waiting to see, why did so-and-so go in there? And that's bad. Mm-hmm. So Jacey-Lynne now is like planning out how she's going to do her stretches outside the door. She goes in, she calls up and finds out that there is these 3 keys that she has to go find in the doors. And there's, how many doors are in this house? Like 20?
A lot, dude. There's 20 or 30 doors at least.
Right? And it's so then she has to go get these keys, which she's sneaking around, and a bunch of people are up. You saw Kevin was up. You saw Josh playing pool. You saw Betty. Like, everybody's awake. I don't know where they are in the house. This is why it's confusing me, because I know the layout of Big Brother US. I don't fully understand the layout of this house. So I'm like, how is she sneaking into all these rooms? She's going in, she's grabbing the keys. Then after she gets all 3 keys, she has to go back to the telephone and call up and solve a riddle.
Yep.
Which she does to find out which door is where the secret power is. So she goes into the secret power door after solving the riddle and has to solve a puzzle in 5 minutes, which, one, that's not easy under pressure.
Dude, and basically it's 4 minutes.
4 minutes just took her a minute. Yeah, right? You saw it.
Dude, I was like, that puzzle's not easy for 4 minutes.
No.
And she like was so smooth under pressure.
Yeah. Well, she finished it with 5 seconds left, which was like super impressive, because what happens as that time is ticking down, and what players can do is be like staring up at the time, looking back down, staring up at the time, looking back down. And now you're missing like 10 seconds where you could just be diligently working. And Jacey-Lynne never got overwhelmed by any of that and did really well. And I think, again, it shows like she is a competitor. She may not be the greatest in the game, because you need to be well-rounded. You can't just be good at competitions, but at least she can compete. And I actually feel confident that Jacey-Lynne could go into a competition under pressure and win. I do feel like she can.
After watching that and what she had to do to get it, I completely agree with you. My question for you is, as a former Big Brother player in US, do you think this is something that Big Brother US, I know they've done, before you guys come first in the comments, I know there's been things like it, but like not to this extent on a consistent basis. There's been a couple secret rooms where like you touch a door or whatever and the wall opens, and I know that. But consistently Big Brother Canada does this. Do you think this is something that Big Brother US needs to incorporate more often? Because we didn't have anything like this on our season. We had Team America. Team America is nothing like this.
No, but they had something similar to this on Big Brother 20, where you could go into the room and like, so
the payphone.
Yeah. And I think,
no, it wasn't the payphone.
No, they had this like back room where it was like, you would go to either see if America voted you to be the top house guest of the week or the bottom house guest. Then they did competitions in there. I think how they can incorporate it is there's different things you have to look at. They can have this room be in a room, and then it allows people to kind of like sneak in and out of it, where maybe there's a computer in the room and you have to find different things and you can plug it into the computer. And if you plug it in and get the right code by the riddle that you're finding stuff around the house, you get this secret power only in 1 week, which I love that they did. They only made it this week. You win this power, it can only be used this week or it's done.
Yep. Yes.
And so I love that. I definitely think Big Brother US can incorporate it. I don't want them to incorporate it a ton, because I'm big on Big Brother just being like, play it how it is. And when they throw all these twists in, it always ends up maybe not allowing the person that really should win to win. And that's what always would drive me nuts.
Let me play devil's advocate here. Okay. I would prefer to see things like this where there's elements of the house. So let's just keep talking in context of Big Brother US, where there's things that are in the house from day one, where the person who's being, cognizant of their surroundings, looking all the time, grinding it out, looking at different puzzles on the walls that may be their numbers, and constantly trying to dig through different things. Because you've been in the Big Brother house.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot in there to go through. Like I was looking in helmets and everything.
Yeah.
Like there should be like 2 or 3 things in there that they put in, maybe 1 week, maybe 2 weeks, maybe even 3 weeks, where the person who's grinding the hardest, the person who's taking the time to go around and search the house continuously is rewarded over the person who's outside, tanning or playing pool.
Yeah.
I would rather see that and take away the America's influence.
Yeah, I
take that out of the equation, because that's not Big Brother. I mean, I know it's Big Brother because they've been doing it for years.
Yeah.
But that's something where the person who's the most liked is getting rewarded, even though they may not be playing hard.
Yeah, like on season 18 where they had stuff come over the backyard and it was stuff that America voted on to give people maybe like
the packages.
Benefits. Yeah, the packages.
Yeah, for me, that influence really does take away from the game, because now people, we see it every season, are playing more towards America than working hard in the house, where if going in there's got to be a secret room. There's got to be a free, even when I'm on the outs and I feel like my game is over and nobody wants to talk to me, there's a strong possibility that there's something in this house that can help me.
Yeah.
I don't have to plead to the cameras. I don't have to, beg America to send me a package that may never come, because there's no type. I can just grind around the house and I don't care if people see me. It's almost like an immunity on Survivor. Like you have an ability to save yourself. I would prefer to see that going forward as opposed to the America's influence.
Yeah,
for me personally.
I feel that. I would say I agree. I just don't love a ton of influence on the game. But there's always twists.
Isn't that the game?
Yeah, that is the game.
Influence.
There's always twists. They've added that since like season, 11, where twists has come in, it was before that. It was like 9 or 10. Where they had stuff like that, like the coup d'etat and like the diamond power of Veto, which was 12. So like, yeah, they do it every year. So I would say I agree with you. If you're going to do it, I'd rather it be in the house. You have to earn it versus getting it handed to you from the outside. I agree with you 100%.
Big Brother producers, I know a couple of you check this out. You've told me, if you're watching this, you had a lot of stage space behind there. You have a lot of secret rooms, a lot of extra space that you don't utilize in there. Maybe add some secret rooms or some secret elements. It doesn't have to be it doesn't have to be a game change, like a thing that like literally ruins someone's game, but could ultimately change the course of the game. Yeah. And that way the people who are in there playing Big Brother, looking for those clues, are rewarded for what they're doing. That's all I'm saying.
Like a hidden immunity idol on Survivor.
Yes. I like something
it.
Where it's like, hey, you find it, and it's not something in like that's left in plain sight for the person you want to get it. It's something where like Big Brother Canada, like right now there's numbers on the red door. They talked about it in the segment. I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
But is that going to come into play at some point? Right. Probably.
Why that number keeps changing? Yeah.
I'd be thinking about it all day. That would bother me so much. So
what did you think of what did you think of Jacey-Lynne having that? She's not able to tell Gino that she has this power, but I felt like she did a poor job of like, inclinating. Is that a word?
Inclinating?
Insinuating?
I don't know. Insinuating.
I don't know. Yeah. You get what I mean? Like, do you think she did a good job of like really vetting out like, gee, if the nominations could change, would that be what you actually want? Versus, I know you're saying you don't want to do it anymore, but that's because you've talked to Helena now in other conversations and she's not going to use it and you don't want to push. But if there was somehow a way to keep your initial plan intact, could you do it? Would you want to do it? And she didn't do any of that. She ultimately was like, is this what we're doing? Okay.
I got a conspiracy for you.
All right, here we go.
Okay, and I want you guys, this is the question for the week. I want you to weigh down in the comments below because I feel pretty confident about this one, okay? Big Brother producers, they have a plan throughout the whole season. They know what they're going to do. They know they're going to bring these twists in. But can the rules of those twists change slightly based on the temperature of the game? I think so. So is it possible that if Jacey-Lynne was allowed to tell people that she had the veto, which to be honest with you is usually when you have a power, you can do whatever you want with it. This is a weird thing where you can't tell anyone or you're immediately evicted.
Yeah.
I feel like Marty's a big character this season, and I feel like he brings a lot to the game as far as like, filling the hour show, the 40-minute show, and he's really kind of a wild card and he's good TV. Well, imagine if Jacey-Lynne had been allowed to tell Gino, I got a power. We can still send Marty home.
Yeah.
Do you think Gino might have said, damn, let's do it?
Yeah.
Damn, let's do it.
I think so. But I mean, I feel like, and maybe I just don't know because we weren't in those conversations with Jacey-Lynne, like, and what would be really over the line that would get her evicted. And I feel like that's a scare tactic, right? But it's like, she couldn't figure out a way to like create dialogue to kind of maybe pull some strings to see if Gino actually still wanted to stick to his original plan. Like, she couldn't find a way to do that. Be like, hey, Gino, like, I mean, I know the veto's not going to be used by Helena, but like, wouldn't it have been so much better this week if Marty did go home? Like, if it could happen, wouldn't it be better than that? Like, do you feel like him not going home is absolutely the best? And then let him kind of go through his brain and start rethinking it. But it's like, she literally just goes, is this what we're doing? Yeah. It's like, you didn't even hint at the initial plan to get it back on. Do we really want to send Marty home? Like, she was definitely vague. It was just, she just dropped the ball.
Well, my question for you and my question for you guys out there is, do you think the you can't tell anyone or you'll be immediately evicted element of this twist was potentially added to maybe save Marty?
I don't think that producers would do that, but
no,
we don't know.
What do you guys think?
We can't get in trouble for going at the producers for Big Brother Canada, right? Like, imagine we say something like this on Big Brother.
Hey, listen, if I was a producer and I had someone who was a big draw, like, the house is not that exciting anymore. There's very few blowouts and things like that. Marty's someone who's unpredictable. I do not know what
there's going to be another blowout.
There's going to be another blow up for sure. But I want you guys to weigh down below. Nothing bad about it. But do you think producers are sitting in there? They have this veto twist and Jacey-Lynne wins it. And they're like, oh my God, Marty's going home. She's going to win it. She's going to tell Gino. They're going to backdoor Marty. He's gone. Well, what if we make it so she can't tell anyone and she has to make the decision on her own? That could make it a little bit more of a potential that Marty stays, right? Just saying, just putting it out there.
I'm telling you right now, if I had, and this is just how it goes for me at least, and if your brain is like racking through it, like the second I won this, I would have been asking a million questions. So what would get me evicted?
What's the exact word?
As long as I say no, I don't have anything. Like what is going to get me evicted? Because I don't want to do that, but I do want to get outside perspective. Because if you're telling me I had this power and you, who was my ride or die, was in power, I'm not going to go and have a conversation and be like, yeah, let me pick Derrick's brain to see if I should be using this. I'm not going to make that decision on my own. And if Jacey-Lynne was that terrified, then like, come on, she didn't ask the right questions to the producers when they told her about the power.
Even Team America, when I was allowed to tell, I could tell people, but obviously I couldn't tell them about others. But I was even concerned that like Donnie was going to tell someone or whatever. Mm-hmm. So, it was an interesting twist. I don't think I've ever seen that before where I've seen it where you're not supposed to tell people, but I've never seen it where it's like, if you tell someone, you're immediately evicted from the house.
Yeah.
You're gone.
Yeah.
Like, that seems like a pretty severe punishment. Maybe just if you tell someone, the power's no longer in play. Nope. You tell anyone, you're gone. Okay.
I just feel like there was a way that she could have not told anyone still, but still got like insight.
Like, hey, Gino, if there was an opportunity for us to flip it, what do you think? Or should we try a little harder with Hina? Or would you be happy if Helena used it?
Yeah. Anything. Anything. Jace, come on, girl.
Well, we're foreshadowing it here, but spoiler alert, Helena doesn't use the veto. Jacey-Lynne does not use the veto. Little funny segment after where, they get told that about the secret power. Gino's convinced 100% it's Marty and Jacey-Lynne's
hilarious. I was dying. I was like, this is my favorite. Like, it was like when we were going over stuff like who stole the stuff, and we were like, it's Zach. Remember, like when you guys stole one article from everybody's
or even the mouse
stuff?
In the house where you go, yes, and you had the helmet
that
on.
one was more so like I was like 100% it's Zach, and they showed it, and then it's like you sitting there like wow. So like those are the funny things that I like seeing.
Yeah, so doesn't use the veto. The nominations stay the same. So you have Moose and Summer on the block. Mm-hmm. There's a campaign segment that plays in the show. We don't really have to go over it. We've kind of been saying it a lot here. Moose is phenomenal. Every conversation Moose has with someone, literally, they leave the room. Moose leaves the room and they're like, man, he's making some really good points. Maybe that is
And then
better
do
for
you
my
see on
game.
the flip side what Summer's saying?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I'm not going to promise you anything, but keep me. I was like, I feel like Big Brother Canada is good for, it's best for this, showing the polar opposites of everything constantly. And it's like, this is how you do HOH. This is how you don't. If you're sitting on the block next to somebody, this is how you want to campaign. This is how you don't. And you saw Moose doing incredible campaigning in different ways. And Summer just being there being like, I'm not promising you anything, but keep me because I'm a good person. It's like, okay, I guess that's how this works. Like, and it just shows how like much more of a threat Moose was in everybody else's eyes than Summer.
No, yeah, you would be an idiot to keep Moose over Summer at that point because totally. he has a real potential to win the game. Mm-hmm. If he got out of that situation, he's probably gonna win. He's that good.
Yeah.
And nobody values Summer as a player. Nobody's looking at her and thinking, I can't beat her in a competition, or I can't convince a jury that I deserve to win more than her, which is why I brought up earlier about, it's okay that you're not winning. That's one thing, but to not even give it your best effort. And you might be trying, but when you're taking food over, giving yourself the best chance to win, that does play into the minds of jury members when they're trying to decide who to pick. So
now what if she gets up there at the end and says, because it's also known in the house that she's throwing all these competitions. It's almost like Dr. Will-esque, where like Dr. Will was making it known, hey, I'm throwing competitions. Not to compare the two at all. But it's like, what if she gets up there at the end and is like, you all knew I was throwing competitions. I did that on purpose because I wanted all of you to feel like there was no way I could beat you in a comp, which was going to skate me by all of you because you were going to take out the people that you feel like you couldn't beat in a comp, and it was going to land me right here. That would immediately for me be like this. Wow. Even if I viewed her like, oh, floater, I'd be like, yep, she gets it. I'd throw a vote her way.
Would you throw a vote her way, or would you consider like
that she came up with that plan?
Yeah, maybe because she did like, for example, if Victoria was in the final two with me and Victoria sat next to me and said, oh, I actually threw all the comps because I wanted you guys to take me to the end, would you have been like, oh, you know what? Actually, that's probably true. She probably would have won a lot of those. Well, even though her performance that you saw didn't reflect that.
No. And I also just think that Victoria and Summer it's just so hard to draw a comparison to the two because like, Victoria,
you don't think they're similar?
Dainty. No, like Summer's athletic. She's a figure skater. Like
Summer's not a figure skater. That's Jacey-Lynne.
No, I thought Summer was.
I think Jacey-Lynne said she was a figure skater, like a competitor. I don't think Summer's a figure skater.
Okay, well,
I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, I'm sorry, Summer. You're a figure skater, but I believe it's Jacey-Lynne who's an athlete figure skater.
Okay, so then maybe not. But I don't know. I just also think that Summer is a little more like Big Brother. She has more Big Brother wit to her. Well, I don't even see Victoria coming up with that idea.
No, I agree with that. I think Summer has definitely had more of an impact on the game with some of her conversations.
So that's what maybe I'll say is that Victoria saying it, I'd be like, okay, great. You threw competitions. We all thought you were weak. You were involved in no moves, no conversations, nothing that was happening, unless all of a sudden she comes out and goes, and she's sitting there next to you and goes, yeah, I was telling Derrick all this other stuff to do. Like, oh yeah, this plan that you guys all knew about. Yeah, that was my idea. This plan. Then I'd be like, oh damn. But that's obviously the only route that would make it be like you and Victoria flipping over. And maybe Summer, because Summer has been involved in some things happening behind the scenes. What was the thing very early on? It was when getting in Gino's ear about getting Kyle on the block. So Summer has done things behind the scenes. So I don't think there's a direct correlation.
No, there's not. But I will say competition wise, they're watching Summer compete. And I don't think they're sitting there going, I do think there was a couple that they were like, she just threw that. Mm-hmm. We know that.
Yeah.
But there's also been a few where it's like, she just can't beat anybody. Right. And they've said it. They've said in the DR, like, and they've said it on the live feeds that I have caught where they're like, we're not worried about Summer.
Yeah.
Even Gino said it this week where he's like, I'm not worried about her coming after me. She's not going to beat us in a competition. So we'll see how that plays out. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Summer wins this season. I'm not seeing it, but she would have to come on strong in the end and start winning some comps. Which is obviously possible. Less people in the house, more chance that you're more likely that you're going to win it.
Right.
So we get to the real quick thoughts on the little tiff between Gino and Jacey-Lynne when there was, the little flirt thing going on at the table, because they made a segment out of it.
Yeah.
It was I didn't expect it, but what was your takeaway on that? We've never been in a showmance, but that is Gino's number one alliance member, and she was not happy.
She was not happy. I think it was more directed towards, I feel like it was because Jacey-Lynne felt embarrassed because it was more directed towards Summer, and then the whole group making a big joke about it with her being the butt of the joke, essentially. And I don't think anybody would enjoy that, even if it wasn't just the person that I was like cuddling up with. Like if people were making jokes about that essentially involved me and I was the butt of the joke and everybody else was jumping in on it, that would bother me if it was like one of my boys doing it to me in front of a group. So I feel like that's more what it was than like her being jealous of Gino and Summer. Cause I think she knows that like she's got Gino and it's not a competition between her and Summer.
He went in for that kiss and she was like, don't tell me to give you a kiss.
Nope. And like, she's like, get out of my face, loser.
He's like, oh,
he goes, I'm going to give you some space.
Yeah.
Idiot.
Now all these little things, and it goes back to what we always say, which is as the game progresses, your patience gets thinner, and you start people start to wear on you. And I don't know if Jacey-Lynne reacts like that week 2 or 3, but because they've been there a while, stress levels are higher. There's more on the line now. You're that much closer to the $100,000, so the little things can get to you. That brings us to the eviction. No surprise here, by unanimous vote, Moose goes home. Moose was a great player. He had a real opportunity to win this game, but he kind of started off rough where people viewed him almost off the jump as someone who talked a little too much. And when he did talk, he was pretty good at it.
Yeah.
And those two things, not something you want to go up against if you're on the block next to that person. So to what you said earlier, I think was a great way of saying it. Although it was his strongest attribute, his ability to communicate, it was also his biggest crutch because people looked at it, they saw it, and they knew that he was someone to really be aware of because he could go a long way just on his words. But on top of that, he's also a competitor.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because Moose was good, but it all started around the Kyle HOH, which was week 3, I want to say, where Moose just really started getting himself in trouble because of his mouth. And then once that starts early, it's only a matter of time. When you're having to get yourself out of situations that your mouth got you into, and you're using like your extremely very well spoken kind of way to like manipulate people. Everybody started catching on to it super early, and it only got worse as the time went on. And so that's why you find Moose sitting on the block next to a Summer is going to go home 10 times out of 10.
10 times out of 10. To wrap up this episode, because we haven't talked about him a lot, I think we have to talk about Kevin, because although we didn't mention him a ton in this episode, he was a big factor to everything that happened this week.
Yes.
He was working behind the scenes, working Helena, working Josh, working Gino, and even on the feeds, he's talking to JC. He's talking to everybody.
Yeah.
And he did a lot this week. It was basically his week as far as he was more than happy to see Moose go home.
Yeah.
It was a huge win for him, but he didn't really make himself that known. He's kind of really had taken a back seat. And I thought it was important to talk about him because although a lot of times we see where the big alliances form in the beginning, they go really far and pick off the people on the outside. Kevin is a testament to everybody out there who may be on the show to know that although you may not start off in the cool kids group, you can still win the game. And he has completely flipped this house on its head. And he took this big group that kind of was together and slowly chipped away at them and fractured them off piece by piece. And he's sending them home week after week. And now here we are more than halfway through the season, and Kevin has a very good shot at winning this game. And it's been a super impressive game to watch unfold as we've been covering it every week.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. And it shows other people how you don't have to be involved in the big group, but once you see fracturing happen, which they did it to themselves. It wasn't necessarily Kevin's doing early on. It was really Kyle being reckless and out of control.
Yeah,
but
it was
once
Kyle.
He saw it, a good player knows like, okay, I see it happening right now. I know where the group is. Let me try to like fracture it.
Let me wedge myself in there.
Yep. Oh, look, I see a little opening. I'm just going to put my foot in and then see if I can get my whole body in the next week. And that's what he has slowly done and methodically has done. And so really, I agree with you 100%. Kudos to him. He's I mean, I'm watching him play and I'd be like, dude, this guy would play Big Brother US too and just be incredible.
He'd be really good. I mean,
Yeah.
you think about the position he's in right now, okay? Helena would never target him. Josh, more than likely never target him. He seems super loyal to him.
Mhm.
Marty, I would say would never target him, but Marty would target everybody. He's just like, he's hard to predict. So you have 3 people who potentially would not target him. Gino would definitely, I mean, Gino, although would probably target him eventually, he's not on anywhere at the top of the list for Gino.
No.
Jacey-Lynne, same thing. Summer would probably go after Kevin. And who else do we have? That's really it, right? Am I missing anybody?
No, I don't think so.
I apologize if I am.
I don't think so.
So he's
Betty.
sitting. Betty. I apologize, Betty. That wasn't intentional, by the way. Betty would definitely target Kevin.
Yeah.
So
You think
that's
so?
someone who would target Kevin.
Okay.
Yeah, they had that blow up earlier. Remember they had that blow up earlier?
Yeah.
And
Because
she's been kind of telling
likes
people
him.
like he's a snake.
Yeah.
She's been telling people he's a snake. And so I do think she would go after him. But these things that he's done over the last few weeks is really going to pay off for him. And that's why I think we should transition now to spoilers really quick.
Mhm.
And then we can close out the episode. So if you don't want to hear the spoilers, which they're not really spoilers because we're behind, so you probably already know about it if you're on social media, but I don't think the episode is available on Big Brother Canada's website yet, so it might be.
No, yeah, it's going to premiere tonight to show everything if you're not following up on the feeds.
Right. So if you want to check out right now, we appreciate you. We'll see you next week, but here comes the spoilers. So Marty wins Marty wins HOH.
Mhm.
And he decides to nominate Josh and Betty. Which was interesting to me because he could have nominated Gino, but I guess he's sticking true to his word. But what's interesting this week, we've been giving her all this shit. Betty wins veto.
Yeah.
Betty wins veto.
Yeah.
And, it's a big win for her because I do think she could have potentially gone home because Josh is well liked in that house.
Yeah.
Josh is well liked, although he is a better player, in my opinion.
Well,
he is well liked.
Saying about Josh, which is like comical to me. He's like, he's gotten second like 7 times, and I'm like, okay, like what? I'm like, these are the things that people just dial up in their heads as they're like watching Big Brother, or as they're in the Big Brother house playing, because you're just like, you try to grab at anything at any point. It's like Josh has gotten second place twice. Like, he's a competitor. So like just getting second all the time makes you like this insane competitor. And like, yeah, better than being a floater, but it's like,
not all of us can win like you, Cody. Not all of us can win.
No, but I'm saying go after the people that win.
Yes, no, that's true.
So it's like, you're mentioning Josh is a big target. It's like, how about Gino, who's won multiple HOHs, or Marty and all this? Like, those are the people, if you want to go after competitors, go after them. I do want to say this point because Taryn, who covers a lot of Big Brother, obviously he covers a lot of different things as well. He put up a tweet saying like, oh, here's the trend is hitting and it's all the physical competitors. And it was after we knew that this was going to be an endurance one. And I was like, you know what? I got to be honest. I don't agree with you, Taryn, because what have you noticed? And I want to see if you noticed what I said. And then I ended up looking it up and having like the information to go behind it. What have you noticed about the type of people that win like the endurance wall competitions?
Oh, it's usually the tiny people. It's usually the tiny people or the thin people. It's not usually the big jock. That's for damn sure.
Right. And so like, I was like, Taryn, I gotta say this, dude. Cause I was like, hey, to be honest, I think it's because Taryn was kind of making it seem like, oh, the physical people are the ones that are only winning. And I'm like, I don't necessarily know if that's it over the people that are just good under pressure to compete can beat the players most of the time that are not. And those players in this house right now are Gino, Marty. Josh does really well. He obviously hasn't won a lot, but Josh is like doing well under the pressure and competing. And so it's like, and then you have the endurance comp that Marty won. And I was like, it's not usually the guy like Marty that wins the endurance comp. It's not this like physical athlete. Like, it's the tiny people who can like fit and can hold up their body weight versus somebody that has like these muscles that are tense that end up tightening up and being even harder to hold on to something. So I had that note and I was like, I wonder if Derrick knows, catches that as well.
The wall comps, especially those endurance comps, like, Danny Donato, someone who like smoked those comps, and she's like a little thing, but she's just like, and she's got the mental toughness, they're just like, I'd rather die up here than come off the wall. Yeah. So No, that I definitely think there's an element to that. No, there's a lot more we could dive into because we were talking about it yesterday. There was a fake self-eviction. There's some gummy bears involved.
This week, you know what I mean?
Yeah, we'll get into it because we're going to take away all the thunder, but we'll try to be on top of it this week where we record right after, right before the next day, so we can get it out to you. So we're all caught up because we are getting near the end of the season. Things are going to pick up pretty fast. And we're going to find out who the winner of Big Brother 10 is very, very soon.
Yeah.
Any final words?
No, that's it.
Guys, listen, as always, we appreciate you joining us here on the Winner Circle. We will see you next week.